how many of your memories of SpongeBob are actually real? All of them?
Correct!
Is SpongeBob actually green?
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Nah, I'm just kidding, but today we're gonna be diving deep into more of Spongebob Mandela effects I can find on the internet. The Mandela effect is a phenomenon where a large group of people believe something that never actually happened. And in the case of SpongeBob, the list just keeps piling on. So there's this scene where Plankton is trying to play the harmonica, right? But the harmonica is gigantic compared to him. And it's just the funniest thing. Picture this little guy running back and forth, blowing into different holes, desperately trying to play it. It's ridiculously cute and hilarious at the same time. He's giving it all he's got, but obviously he's struggling because, well, he's Plankton and it's a harmonica. In the end, he's so exhausted that he just faints. But here's the weird part. There's this scene everyone seems to remember that actually never happened. And it has to do with Plankton and the harmonica. And these people's minds, they believe there was this beautiful moment where SpongeBob steps in to help him. SpongeBob takes the lower notes and Plankton handles the higher notes. And together they create this surprisingly harmonious melody. It's touching, it really is, and it perfectly captures the whole teamwork and friendship vibe SpongeBob is all about. But the thing is, this scene, it never actually happened in the episode. And can I be honest, it's actually bizarre because I remember talking to my friends about this and we all thought it was real. So finding out it wasn't part of the episode felt like losing a piece of my childhood memory.
I know that you haven't improved since we began.
But like I said, it's not just me and my friends. Loads of fans felt the same way. Like, let's be real here. It's kind of crazy how our minds can create such vivid emotional memories out of thin air. SpongeBob and Patrick decide they're gonna live this fancy lifestyle they saw in a magazine, right? And their grand plan is to become chocolate bar salesmen to make some quick cash.
Quick, Patrick, without thinking, if you could have anything in the world right now, what would it be?
More time for thinking.
They start going door to door to sell chocolate, but let's just say they're not exactly naturals at it. Their first attempts are pretty much a disaster. Now here's the funny thing. A lot of us remember this scene having this wild extended chase scene where SpongeBob and Patrick get in a bunch of crazy disguises trying to escape from Tom, who's absolutely obsessed with chocolate. Now although the scene never happened, it's such a vivid memory for so many of us with these elaborate tactics and disguises. But the truth is, in the actual episode, the chase scenes with SpongeBob and Patrick are pretty much straightforward. There aren't any complex disguises or super cunning strategies, but isn't it weird how so many of us remember it being way more elaborate? This actually says a lot about our brains and how they work. We tend to embellish memories, especially when it's about stories and shows we're really into, like the chocolate episode. But it is likely that over time, we just added more layers to this scene in our heads. SpongeBob and Squidward are closing up at the Krusty Krab for the day and everything's normal until the phone rings. SpongeBob, being the ever-eager guy he is, goes and answers it, but Squidward beats him to it. He's about to tell the caller they're closed, but Mr. Krabs jumps in and grabs the phone. This is where it gets interesting. The caller wants a pizza and Mr. Krabs, seeing a chance to make some extra money, instantly says yes. Here's the catch though, the Krusty Krab doesn't even make pizza. Squidward points this out, but Mr. Krabs is not one to let logic get in the way of profits. I mean, you gotta give it to Mr. Krabs for his creativity when it comes to making money.
We don't deliver.
We don't deliver, but you do.
Now, here's where it gets really funny. A lot of people remember this episode as Mr. Krabs starting a whole pizza promotion at the Krusty Krab, but that never happened. Fans have this theory that we all just imagine Mr. Krabs going all out with pizza signs and a big promotional event. Like, come on, it seems so in character for him to do that. Mr. Krabs can literally turn anything into a money-making opportunity. So their brains probably just like filled in the gaps for what they thought the episode would be. Personally, I don't remember Mr. Krabs doing that at all. Now this next Mandela effect, I can't say the same thing. This one actually got me. In this episode, we start out in Sandy's tree dome. Sandy is full on Texas mode, doing her chores, raking leaves into Texas shapes, which is, you know, pretty on brand for her. And there's SpongeBob trying to help her with this hilarious tiny rake. Sandy all geared up because she's getting ready to hibernate for the winter, but she's got this wild list of extreme activities she wants to get done first. And of course, she drags SpongeBob into all these crazy adventures. The activities they do are just over the top. We're talking about sandboarding, skating, playing extreme jacks, and even trying to find a hay in a needle stack. SpongeBob is totally out of his league here. He's struggling big time with these insane games, and eventually he decides to hide under Patrick's rock to escape Sandy's extreme games. But then Sandy starts freaking out when she can't find SpongeBob. She's worried something bad happened to him, so she organizes this massive search party across Bikini Bottom. They're searching in all these dangerous places, and after a while, everyone's had enough of Sandy's frantic search, and they all end up hiding under Patrick's rock too.
That squirrel's gone crazy.
But she'll never look under a rock.
Now here comes the Mandela effect part. Patrick comes back from the grocery store with his hands full, including an ice cream cone. He finds everyone hiding under his rock and is totally confused, blurting out,
Who are you people?
Now here's the thing, many fans, including myself, have this vivid memory of Patrick being so shocked that he actually drops his ice cream cone. But in the actual episode, that doesn't happen. He's just standing there baffled with all his groceries, and yeah, he does have an ice cream cone still intact in his hand, but it never falls. Like, I don't know, it just feels so right for Patrick to drop that cone in the moment, doesn't it? But no, the show doesn't go there, even though it feels like it definitely should have. The episode revolves around Squidward, SpongeBob, and Patrick. Well, they have different names, but they're discovering fire and figuring out all the different things they can do with it. It's actually a pretty hilarious take on the whole caveman era. But here's where it gets interesting. There's this Mandela effect where a bunch of fans vividly remember a scene where SpongeGar, Patar, and Squog go jellyfishing with primitive tools. Everyone seems to have this clear image of them using sticks or bones trying to catch jellyfish. However, this particular jellyfishing scene doesn't actually happen in the episode. I believe that the Mandela effect here is probably because this memory gets mixed up with another episode, SB129. In SB129, Squidward ends up in a prehistoric time and shows SpongeBob and Patrick had a jellyfish. So I mean, yeah, if you haven't seen the show in a while, I can see how fans could blend these two episodes together in their memories, but no, they're 100% wrong. Now, speaking of episode SB129, there's another Mandela effect that's just going viral on TikTok. It starts off pretty typical with Squidward just wanting some peace and quiet to play his clarinet. But as always, SpongeBob and Patrick have other plans. Squidward, in his usual way, is just not having it. He's looking for any way to escape these antics, so Squidward tries to find some solitude by hiding in the Krusty Krab freezer. This is when things take a turn for the worse. He actually gets locked inside the freezer. And then the episode takes this wild sci-fi twist. Squidward ends up being frozen in the freezer for a whopping 2,000 years, and this is where the Mandela effect kicks in. A lot of people misremember it as him being frozen for 3,000 years, but it was actually 2,000 years.
Impossible! He's lying!
I personally wasn't even affected by this Mandela effect. I mean, I'll be honest, they could have been 1,000, 2,000, I mean, it could have been 10. Like, I didn't even know it was 2,000 years until I started doing research for this video. SpongeBob is doing his usual thing, keeping the Krusty Krab clean and tidy. But then he sees this guy littering, and being the responsible citizen SpongeBob is, he calls the cops. Squidward freaks out and then reveals that the fish littering is actually the Tattletale Strangler, a criminal notorious for targeting those who snitch on him. Like, quite the predicament for SpongeBob, right? Anyways, as the story unfolds, the Strangler manages to escape from the police and swears revenge on SpongeBob. Poor SpongeBob, trying to find a security guard, realizes no one wants the job because they're all terrified of the Strangler. Then, in a comedic twist, the Strangler himself, sporting a ridiculously fake mustache, offers to be SpongeBob's bodyguard. And SpongeBob, bless his heart, is none the wiser and hires him.
Yes, excellent!
The episode is filled with these funny moments where they're running errands and the Strangler keeps trying to find the right moment to get SpongeBob, but he never can. They finally end up at SpongeBob's house, where the Strangler thinks he's finally gonna get his chance. But then... SpongeBob has a surprise party, and every time the Strangler tries to make his move, he's interrupted by a party guest coming back for forgotten items. But here's the kicker. Remember that scene where the Tattletale Strangler is in jail with Patrick and he tries to strangle him? Well, it turns out that scene is another classic case of the Mandela effect. It actually never happened in the episode. What really happens is the Strangler, overwhelmed by the chaos of being around SpongeBob, inadvertently turns himself in to escape SpongeBob's relentless hospitality.
The Strangler could have been on that plane.
The scene then has him in a jail cell looking utterly relieved to be away from SpongeBob, but with Patrick as his cellmate. The episode then ends with the Strangler's face showing nothing but dismay and annoyance. No strangling attempts whatsoever. There's this artist at sea, frantically sketching away, but in a twist of fate, he drops his pencil into the ocean. Down it goes into the depths, right? And here's where it gets interesting. As SpongeBob and Patrick are playing the rock, paper, scissors bubble game, the pencil just plunges into the sand between them. At first, they're totally freaked out, thinking it's some giant alien thing, but then they start drawing stuff and suddenly they realize that whatever they draw comes to life, right? But that's not what I'm here to talk about. The Mandela effect. A lot of people including myself, we swear this pencil had a different color scheme with a red outline on it, but instead it's actually just a plain wood pencil. Like, I swear it's such a vivid memory in my mind you think it was true. I remember the ridges in the pencil being red, but I don't know, like maybe I'm thinking of a different episode. Like, let me know in the comments what you guys think. In the Graveyard Shift episode, there's this part where things get a bit spooky. It all begins with Squidward eagerly closing the Krusty Krab at 8 p.m, looking forward to his time with the clarinet. Just then, a customer shows up wanting to order, but Squidward tells him they're closed.
Are you open?
Read the sign.
I'll have a Krabby Patty Deluxe and a double chili kelp fries.
And here's where Mr. Krabs sees yet another money-making opportunity and decides to keep the Krusty Krab open for 24 hours. He tears up the close sign and SpongeBob is thrilled, but Squidward, he's not too happy about it. Now, about the Mandela effect. Fans remember Mr. Krabs saying he was gonna keep the Krusty Krab open for 25 hours a day.
From now on, the Krusty Krab is open 24 hours a day.
I know that sounds weird, but I remember laughing at that moment, thinking like, wow, that's kind of funny because there's only 24 hours in a day, and Mr. Krabs wanting to make as much money as possible is like, nah, we're open for 25 hours. But I don't know, like maybe like we all just came up with this stuff in our dreams collectively. The camping episode starts with Squidward looking forward to a peaceful weekend without SpongeBob and Patrick, only to find them camping right outside his house.
No, it doesn't matter where you are as long as you're outdoors.
The trio ends up having quite the adventure involving roasting marshmallows, singing the campfire song, and an unexpected visit from a sea bear and a sea rhinoceros. But some people remember that SpongeBob and Patrick, scared by the events, decide to head back inside to sleep, leaving Squidward alone and frustrated outside. Now, I'm not siding with these people. I do not remember this ever happening. Like, I clearly remember this episode. Like, in reality, all three of them just stayed outside, relieved after surviving the bear attack. They even joke about being lucky to wear anti-sea rhino underpants.
Good thing we're all wearing our anti-sea rhinoceros undergarments. Right, Squidward?
Squidward unfortunately never had. But this whole scenario really makes you think like, yeah, I don't really remember this one at all. I don't have even the slightest memory of this happening, but why do people remember these? Like, how come it's such a big thing? I don't know. Let me know in the comment section down below if any of these Mandela effects affected you. And don't forget to subscribe because I have a bunch of banger SpongeBob ideas I want to post in the future that I think you might enjoy. With all that being said though, I'll see you guys in the next video.